Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Victory Loves Company podcast. Today is Monday, March 19th, 2018. I'm Conrad Agderian, and today we're going to talk about prongs, benzels, tensions, channels, inlays, cushions, and pairs. Confused? Well, I was too. Today we're going to talk about simplifying the process of picking out the perfect engagement ring. And trust me, gentlemen, this is one area you do not want to skimp on research-wise. So, if you are as lucky as I was to find the girl who is the one, plan the perfect proposal, have that fairy tale wedding, the flowers, the pictures, the first dance to music, and go riding off into the sunset of marital bliss, oh, I can hear the doves flying from here. But hold up. You got to get an engagement ring first. And for those who are already married, you know the importance of this crucial step. Buying an engagement ring can be an overwhelming task, and there's a lot of pressure on this purchase as it is a symbol of your love for your significant other and a token of your willingness to take the relationship to the next level. So thankfully, we're joined here today with Jim Sayilik, owner and operator of John Pierre Jewelers, a family-owned and operated business since 1989. Jim specializes in custom-made jewelry and carries his own diamond jewelry line. And today he's going to help us provide some clarity into the process. Jim, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Conrad.
You're very welcome. Get it? Clarity?
I sure did. I picked that right up.
You see what I did there? There's a question I've always wanted to ask, I guess, as a jeweler. Have you ever, after hours, tried on all the jewelry naked?
Never, and never even entered my mind.
Oh, well, you're thinking about it now, Jim.
Absolutely not.
I'm kidding. All right, Jim, thanks for coming on. For many men, the purchase of a lady's engagement ring is their first experience into the wild world of jewelry. And you were actually my point of contact when I was able to pick out my fiance's engagement ring, and I just wanted to say thank you for making that process easier. I have you to thank, technically, for my marital bliss, so thank you for making it easy for us.
Of course, I do remember when you were purchasing the important process of the diamond engagement ring.
And I came in here all flustered. You did a good job, and I can't thank you enough. My girl was absolutely blown away.
More importantly, as long as the wife is happy, we're all happy.
Yeah, happy wife, happy life, right?
That's correct.
All right, Jim, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got started in this industry, please?
Sure. That's a great question. My dad opened this business up back in 1989, like you mentioned, and it was local for us. We lived in town, so I would come here after school and spend my afternoons here up until we locked up. So I just basically got thrust into this business. It kind of chose me, and here we are 29 years later. And everything, thank God, we're moving forward, and it's very enjoyable as long as you take it in stride and not stress and love dealing with the people you see and get accustomed with. You build a relationship with everyone, all your clientele, and that's what I enjoy the most.
Well, that's important. Trust, especially for a jeweler such as yourself. The trust must be a big deciding factor when it comes to you and your clients, yes?
Absolutely. That's the most important part. And, I take that for granted sometimes because I just kind of ask questions and just try to be comforting from the beginning of this whole process when it comes to the engagement ring. And that's what, goes a long way.
Your father started this business?
My dad opened this business up, and I have my brother and myself that own it. And we also have our sister helping us out. And it's a family-run business, and I believe everyone gets almost a kick out of that because not many siblings work together today.
Yeah, I know I wouldn't. I'd want to kill her if I had to work with any of my family members.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not easy, but at the end of the day, we enjoy it.
Yeah, it's got its pros and its cons. It's got its pros
like everything else.
Yes, sir. So your father started in '89. When did you come into the picture? Did you start working as soon as he opened up shop, or did you?
I did.
Okay.
I did, and then once I graduated high school, I was full time from that point on.
What do you like about it? What do you like about the jewelry industry that kind of drew you to it? Because I'm sure you probably had the option of either working for your dad or kind of doing your own thing, as I've seen with a lot of family-run businesses. So what kind of made you choose this direction as opposed to something else?
That's a great question. It's tough to say exactly what, but being in here when I was still in high school, I should say, it made me pick up a lot of pointers, and I felt like I had a head start once I graduated high school instead of starting something else that I did not know much about. So I went forward with that.
Now, I mentioned earlier that you specialize in custom jewelry, and you even have your own diamond jewelry line. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's what's really fun today, making our own bridal collection. We make up a lot of our own engagement ring designs, and as well as wedding bands that match them, and it's a great process. We show the customer as well as everyone else that wants to see the process from step one till the finished product, and it's very enjoyable. A lot of people enjoy viewing step by step and seeing the CAD CAM work online, the process of the webcam designing all the way to the finished product.
Do you find that custom jewelry is more mainstream, or has gained more popularity than something that would be sitting in your showcase?
Oh, absolutely. Today with the internet, everything is online to view in terms of getting a different style that you might have in mind that you could pick up somewhere on someone else's Pinterest or wherever it may be, and bringing that picture in and going from there. And that's what it's all about today.
Okay, gotcha. Well, girls can be very decisive, so it's not necessarily what they see in your showroom.
They sure do know what they want.
Don't they all?
So what happens is on the guy's end, paying attention, listening, and gathering and collecting information if they have pictures or whatever it may be, and bringing that in.
All right, so let's talk about the purchase of the engagement ring process. What is something that a guy should know about themselves or about their situation before picking out a ring? Now, obviously, budget plays a big part into that. What else should people know about themselves before making that leap?
It was brought up to me when someone was purchasing a ring, and they told me it's a reflection of themselves, the ring that they purchase for their future wife to wear. So I'm not saying it has to be elaborate or anything crazy like that, but you want to put a little detail into it and come away with something that not only the future Mrs. loves, but something that you're proud that you purchased as well.
I already brushed upon that you make custom jewelry, and you had touched upon that there are a lot of online retailers out there that will push more expensive products, whereas someone like yourself could make something very similar at a much, much lower pricing point. Now, is it possible to make up a custom ring at any price point? How does that work?
Yeah, it pretty much can be. It would have to, a few factors in there, like if you heard of the 4 C's, so the size of the stone would come into play as well as the quality of the diamonds. But absolutely, it does not have to be the exact price point that you see the pricing of online or wherever you may be shopping. It's always interchangeable. It's always geared to fit into your own personal budget. You just got to explain in detail and be comfortable with the jeweler, as the jeweler as well should explain that to you when purchasing a ring.
Jim, for those who don't know who the 4 C's or what the 4 C's are, could you elaborate?
Sure.
I know it's jewelry 101. It's probably very hacky for me to ask, but for those who don't know what the hell the 4 C's are, like myself, before I came in here to pick something out, could you please explain?
You would only know if you were in the process of shopping. No, not many guys would know beforehand.
That's true.
The 4 C's stand for color, clarity. That's of the quality of the diamonds, how white the stone is for color, the clarity, how clean the diamond is, the carat size, how big or small the diamond may be, as well as the cut, the shape of the stone, and the brilliance and so on are the 4 C's.
The cut is the shape? Is that just a fancy way of saying it? Or not?
The cut technically is the shape, but today there's also, you want the cut of the stone to be a certain proportion and dimension. So I like to elaborate on that when going through the process of purchasing a diamond as well.
Are there certain diamond cuts that really only work well with certain settings? Or is everything interchangeable?
For the most part, everything is interchangeable.
Jim, you look like a guy that knows how to keep a secret. So For guys that want to surprise their future fiancés without tipping them off and still going through the research process, what are some good ways that guys or anyone can really go about finding out what their significant other wants without really tipping anybody off, based off of your experience?
Great point, Conrad. Most females do have that go-to person in their life, whether it's their sister, their mother, their cousin, best friend. They have someone. As the guy, you got to know who that person is and pick their brain, whoever their best friend or your sister may be, and get insight from them because they know it.
My fiance, she was an only child, so I was denied the luxury of a sister. But luckily, I spoke with her mother, and I spoke with her best friend at the time to kind of pick her brain. At the time, we were dating for over 7 or 8 years. I know for some people it seems like an eternity. When I noticed that she was starting to get a little antsy as far as like, all right, like, you know, when is this going to happen? Is this going to happen? Because we were already living together at that point. So obviously that would be the next logical step, which is, of course, where the pressure comes in for the guy to perform, yada, yada, yada. I had her friend do some reconnaissance work and gather information about the different types of stuff that she wanted. So as you mentioned earlier, you know, I went online to kind of get ideas. But all the ones that I saw online, you know, $10,000, honestly, it didn't buy you shit. I mean, that's just the sad reality of it.
Well, yeah, it can get out of hand. Everything online is influencing. And what we need to do is, like what you did, you know, find people that you can go to get a good idea of what she may be looking for. And then what I also want to say on your end that I recommend is going into the local jeweler as opposed to the mall and just talking, you know, building a relationship with the local guy goes a long way in finding what you are looking for.
I did that with you. That worked out great, right?
Yes, it worked out wonderful.
No, you made the process great. You know, you get your reputation behind you, the way you speak to people, and, you know, I couldn't have asked for anything better, and I wouldn't have changed anything better. So,
you know, with the long relationship like that for 7 or 8 years, and then the engagement ring comes, I mean, the hints no longer become subtle. When you open up the laptop or, you know, whatever computer device, pictures are basically right there from her, is what I've been hearing a lot. And, you know, a text message today, with the technology today, it's very easy to get easy hints as to what they do like. But for the average guy that is, you know, without any clue of what she may like, finding her go-to friend is the best way.
So nothing short of breaking into her phone and finding out what she's been looking at, you would just recommend just asking somebody? Because I was actually honestly this close to doing that.
I'm not sure about the phone, but I think maybe even the laptop. If you got on her laptop, yeah, you would find a world of information there based on what they save.
Jim, she's a cop's daughter. She's gonna know if I touched any piece of information or anything in her room. She's gonna piece it together.
So, yeah, you need to ask mom and her friend.
You try dating a cop's daughter, man. It's not easy, you know.
I can imagine.
Oh Jesus! Actually, funny story, because I knew there was. I knew she was getting antsy, and this was right around the time when I actually started shopping around online, and eventually came and saw you a couple weeks later. And when I had her friend do reconnaissance work, they were going down the shore to actually visit her parents, because her parents live down the shore. And her friend was able to provide me with enough information to kind of move forward with the steps of purchasing it. So I'm like, all right, I know what kind of diamond she likes. I know what kind of setting she likes. And she came into my room. She came into my office at home. And she goes, Conrad, she goes, I think I know what I want. And I played dumb. I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean you know what you want? She's like, as far as a ring. And I'm like, oh, Jesus. And I'm like, sweetheart, I'm like, I don't have time for this.
Most men do play it off. They're not paying attention to her, but they really are listening.
I feel like this whole thing was an acting audition, because, like, picking out the ring by comparison was actually the easier of the two. It was the pretending like you didn't give a shit and basically like covering your tracks. Now, again, you try dating a cop's daughter, she's going to put the pieces together. So she comes into my office and she tells me that the first thing I do is I had a web page up where I was looking at different like sunglasses, like high-end sunglasses. So as soon as she walked into the room, I brought that page up, and she's like, Conrad, I know what I want this, and blah blah blah. I'm like, that's nice. And she looked at the screen and she saw that I had these like $200 sunglasses that I was looking at online. I'm like, well, look, why don't we wait a little bit? I said, I really want to buy these glasses. So I'm like, yeah, let me just piss away $200 on these glasses right here. And that threw more of a curveball at her, because it's like that money that I was putting towards these sunglasses that I clearly didn't need, I could have put towards a ring.
And not only the money part, but it's also like she's opening up to you about the ring, and you're downplaying it as if like the glasses are more important that you are faking to buy.
Well, Jim, don't get me wrong. I mean, every guy needs a good pair of glasses, but
yeah. Well, we have a lot of toys we are always interested in.
When I gave it to her, it was just, I mean, she looked like a deer in the headlights. Different girls react differently, but she was, I think it's because she was so shocked, because my point was, number one, I didn't want her to know about it. This had to be 100% a surprise, so I had to be constantly 2 steps ahead of her. Number two, I wanted the emotional contrast to be big. I didn't want to keep building it up and be like, oh yeah, it's totally going to happen. It'll happen soon. I promise you. Yada yada yada. I played it off as like, well, look, I really don't know, and whatever. They kind of bring her down a couple notches emotional wise, So that way, when I gave her the ring, it was such a drastic emotional change from like pretty much sadness to like instant bliss. You know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what they do want is to hear that they are getting the ring, but it's tough to admit to it. But also, when they get it, is to throw them off with timing, and that's the element of surprise, and that goes a long way with their reaction.
Just to buy time, because she would be, I'm not joking, she would probably pick fights with me on average like once every 2 weeks about, when are we doing this? Like, let's go. And of course, it doesn't help that you see her friends starting to get engaged. You see her friends start to get married. And it's, as a girl, it's like, all right, well, when's my turn? We're living together. We've known each other for 8-9 years. And
that's most important for the females. I realize guys don't care about this as much, but every female does. And they're, in comparison or, stacking it up against one another.
So as a last Hail Mary attempt to kind of get her off my back, I said, all right, sweetheart. I said, let's come back from vacation. I said, why don't we'll wait a couple weeks. I said, I'll save up a little more green. I said, and why don't we go together, and we can pick out exactly what you want. And I think that
she didn't love that.
Look, girls like to be surprised. I don't care what they say. They like to be surprised, even though they say, please don't surprise me. It's a plea to surprise them. So that was it. I just said.
But you were already ahead of her. At that point.
I think at that point I already had the ring.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's what I was getting at.
So
yeah.
I came in here. Everything was polished up. Everything looked gorgeous. And
try to piss them off before you excite them.
That's actually what I did when I asked her. We were by this lake, and we were on this rock that was probably about the size of a Volkswagen Bug. And it was in October, and it was unusually warm for October, and it was about 71 degrees.
Is this where the conversation was, that you should wait and maybe go shopping together?
No.
You were getting thrown in. That's why I was asking.
No. My plan was to, again, bring her down a couple pegs, and then I would take the ring, and we would go up. We would go up to the Poconos, and I would wait, not the first day, but the second day, because I wanted to scout out an area that I would ask her. And 2 days in, I find the rock. Now, let me back up a couple seconds. The very first time I used Amazon was to get a jewelry box for the ring. And this particular box had a light on it, like one of those like LED lights that when you open it shines down on it. You know what I'm talking about?
We have those. Yeah, right.
Oh, okay.
But I just want to clarify, you did get a box with the ring as well, right?
Well, what did you think I was going to do, throw it at her? So I bought the box on Amazon. We go up there, and I'm scouting out the area. And the whole first day that I was there, I don't remember anything about the vacation, because I was so nervous about asking her, And
never easy. Yeah, that's when we sweat.
Yeah, I'm literally, I don't remember anything about the first day. I think we went rock climbing, we had dinner, and then everything else was just like, what if she says no? How am I emotionally going to deal with this?
Everything goes through your head.
It's always that what if scenario.
The fear of rejection.
Well, every guy has that, right?
We shouldn't, though, but yes.
Well, there's some guys out there that they don't care. They they go in there and whatever happens. Me, as the old saying goes, when you're hunting with one bullet, you wait for a clean shot. That was the way I operate. Yeah, that's the way I roll. So anyway, back to the rock. So we're on this rock, And I got the ring in my pocket, and it was a gorgeous sunset. It was just picturesque, cliche, all that shit. And I said, listen, sweetheart, I said, I really don't think it's going to be wise to look for a ring, I said, because I don't know what you want, and I really want to surprise you. So I saw the kind of like the emotion drain from her face at that particular point. And I'm like, I still want to get it for you. It's going to happen. I promise you. In the meantime, I'm sweating bullets. I got the thing in my pocket. I'm like, I did get you something on Amazon.
Ah, there comes Amazon.
I'm like, but I did get you something on Amazon. And she goes, oh, sure. She goes, bring me to this gorgeous spot and get me buttered up. And then basically like almost like kind of like disappoint me. I said, no, no kidding. I said, I really did buy you on something on Amazon, which technically wasn't a lie, right?
That's correct.
And I go into my pocket, and I open it up. I'm like, well, what do you think about this? And just it almost she looked terrified. she
doesn't know how to react at this point because you pissed her off, and now.
But that was my point.
Right.
Is like I didn't want her to be happy, and then I wanted to present the ring because then the emotional contrast wouldn't have been as large. I wanted her to be on the other side of the spectrum, and then be like, oh, sweetheart, by the way, I got you exactly what you wanted, thanks to you, by the way. And I opened it up, and she froze, and then I did the whole proposal thing, and I'm like, blah 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 blah, all that shit. Yeah, she said yeah.
And here you are today.
Yeah,
trying to help everyone else out go through the process.
It was, that was emotionally draining. That was emotionally draining. But once it was done, I was fine. And then she was the one that was nervous for whatever reason. I'm still trying to figure this one out. But my friend who proposed to his girl a couple of years ago went through the same thing. It was like the guy was nervous. He asked, and as soon as he was done asking, everything was fine, and then the girl gets nervous. I'm still trying to figure that one out. Like, I guess it's just an overwhelming.
It is overwhelming, and then they start seeing the future. They start picking out dates for the wedding, and a lot of things are going through their head.
Yeah.
But I always tell Conrad, whenever they purchase the ring and time to pick up, that's the easy part. Now the deliverance or the proposal part is where you're gonna sweat.
Yeah. So
there's so many ways to do it, but at the end of the day, as long as they see that you put a little effort into the deliverance as well, they are appreciative.
No, I agree wholeheartedly. All right, Jim, let's bring this back on the rails a little bit here. Tell me about medals, different medals that are available for the guy and for the girl.
For the female part, with the engagement ring, typically it's going to be gold, and that comes in white gold as well as yellow gold and different carats, whether it's 14 karat, 18 karat, as well as a choice of platinum. And with that, whatever metal you do choose, come time for the wedding band, you tend to match it. So whatever metal you go with, it's most likely the same with the wedding band. And then with the guys, it's a little more of a broader option with that. There are the same metals for men. Those are called the precious metals. And then there's also alternative metals.
Such as what?
There's tungsten carbide, titanium, cobalt chrome, stainless steel. I might have missed one, but that's the option, and that's more trendy as well as affordable for the guy.
I guess gone are the days where guys just had the simple plain gold bands like they did in the 70s and 80s. I guess, but guys want something a little more trendier.
They still exist, those plain bands, and some men do get it, but today a lot of the men, I think it comes down to budget as well. They don't want to spend, they're saving more for the female ring and settling on something that's also nice looking with a harder substance metal.
Well, diamonds aren't necessarily a girl's best friend. I know they become synonymous with engagement rings, but they aren't the only option. There are other precious stones like emeralds, rubies, sapphires that can be a budget-friendly alternative if you're a little strapped for cash, as some people would prefer a more colorful gem over a diamond. Do you have any advice for guys out there that still want to ask their girls, but are a little bit on a budget? What options are available to them?
Sure, those options that you just mentioned are always available, and they are a cheaper price point or a lesser expensive option, and you can definitely go that route. It's not as common, but it is doable. I know the diamond in the center stone is the most preferred, but we have done the options you mentioned, whether it's a sapphire, emerald, or ruby as well.
How common is that?
Not that common, but
Yeah,
it does exist. But the guy comes in prepared. He says he's saving or he has saved, and he kind of knows where to go in terms of budget with what he has saved up. And there are other options as well, Conrad. Stores do offer financing, and not everywhere, but it can be an option as well.
Layaway? Is that it?
Well, no, it would be more of a finance. You get to take it and then pay it off monthly or whatever the case may be. Layaway is not as common as it once was, so people tend to go with a quicker option and try to get the ring as quickly as possible.
Insurance. Jim, how important or vital is insurance when purchasing something like an engagement ring?
So that's the one piece of jewelry that is most commonly insured because it is the expensive purchase, and typically as a jeweler we provide the paperwork to insure it. It's called an appraisal. We write that up, valued at a certain amount, and you would take that to your local insurance agency or whoever you deal with and get it insured through them.
Is there anything else that you would like to add for first-time jewelry buyers out there that are looking to go through this process?
It seems like we touched up on all the basics in terms of shopping for your engagement ring. To be relaxed out there when you are shopping, it's okay, and it's fun. It can be fun, at least.
The end result is certainly fun.
That is always fun.
All right, Jim. How can people find you? How can we get a hold of you?
Thanks, Conrad. They can find me at Instagram as well as Facebook on johnpierrejewelers.com, and my website is johnpierrejewelersnj.com.
For people who don't know the relationship between us, you were the point of contact that facilitated the engagement ring and the wedding band for my fiance, and you were just a pleasure to deal with. So
likewise, thank you, Conrad. And how many years ago was that?
Probably late summer of 2014. Okay. And we got hitched in October of 15, and just kind of living the dream ever since.
Absolutely. And here we are almost 4 years later, and that's what I love about this, building the relationship that I do with everyone, and that's staying in contact and in touch with everyone. It's always fun.
It really does mean a lot that people like you and trust you so much to the point that they just keep coming back and referring you to friends and to family. So
that's what it's all about. It goes a long way.
All right, everyone. Jim, thanks for coming on.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, Conrad. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you. And that's the podcast. I want to thank everyone for listening to Victory Loves Company. I'm Conrad Agdarian. Please check us out on our social media handles at VLC Podcast. And as always, if you have any questions or suggestions for upcoming shows, email us at thevictorypodcast@gmail.com, and I'll talk to you next week.